Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to science. All right, so chapter 22, section 4, we're looking at male reproductive, the hormones that are going to be involved in the function. So ultimately, we start at the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is going to have the gonado GnRH, which is going to be the gonado releasing hormone. This hormone is going to stimulate the anterior pituitary. And then once the anterior pituitary is stimulated, you're going to have follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone that are going to both be involved in the initiation of other cells to release their hormones. So let's go ahead and take a journey on this and see the overall influence of development as a result of these. So gonadotropin releasing hormone. This is what is in the hypothalamus. This GnRH secretes, regulates secretion of gonadotropins from the anterior pituitary. Now, in the anterior pituitary, we have um, the interstitial cell stimulating hormone. This is going to affect interstitial cells. Interstitial cells are then going to cause the development of the male sex hormone, testosterone specifically. That's going to be in these interstitial cells. This is like the key area where we have testosterone produced. It's not the only area. This is just the major area. All right, follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormones stimulates the sustentacular cells of the testes to mature, proliferate, and respond to testosterone. Now, this process we'll see by comparison how it's different in females compared to males with the response to the follicle stimulating hormone. So, in the presence of follicle stimulating hormone, testosterone, the sustentacular cells stimulate spermatogenesis in spermatogenic cells. Negative feedback controls. Um, so, we have androgens. When you have a certain amount of an androgen that's there, its production, its quantity, is then going to have an effect on other things. And this is prevented from the overexcretion of GnRH and LH. Androgens are going to take care of that. Inhibin is an inhibiting thing, and it's going to have its effect on the sustentacular cells that are going to prevent the oversecretion of follicle stimulating hormone. So, looking at the androgens, this is the male sex hormones. The interstitial cells of the testes, which we just talked about with the interstitial cell um, releasing hormone, the stimulating hormone, that's going to be ultimately the key thing that is stimulating the testes to release their testosterone. So there's also a small amount that's going to be released in the adrenal cortex, but this is not here nor there. We're just saying that it's not the only place. Testosterone is the most important androgen. So secretion begins during fetal development, but then it's going to pause because during childhood, you're not going to see much testosterone released at all. In fact, it's going to be into adolescence when a person starts to release testosterone, which is going to be the onset of puberty. And so, early development of the fetus, then wait um, just to after a few weeks of birth, and then it's going to stop, and then you're going to have this long window until puberty where you start releasing testosterone again. So, dihydrotestosterone, DHT. Dihydrotestosterone is a derivative of testosterone, meaning it comes from testosterone. And this is going to have its target being the prostate gland, seminal vesicles, and external accessory glands. So prior to birth, development of the male reproductive organs, and we have descent of the testes and the scrotum. We know that we have the gubernaculum, which is going to be involved in pulling that testes from the abdominal cavity down into the scrotum. So during puberty, you have enlargement of the testes and the accessory organs of the male reproductive system, a development of the secondary sex characteristics, which include these things that usually happen during and even late after puberty: increase of body hair, sometimes decrease hair on the scalp, don't look, the enlargement of the larynx, which we know is going to be the throat and vocal cords. That's why you hear the pitch changing as guys develop in puberty. thickening of the skin, increased muscular growth, thickening and strengthening of bones, and also the rate of red blood cell production to help with cellular metabolism. So this image is kind of a cliff notes of the entire things that we just looked at. So we have GnRH, which is going to, this is going to gonadotropin releasing hormone. You're going to then have the follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone that's stimulated to be released by the anterior pituitary. Once that hits into the bloodstream, you're going to have the FSH, which is going to stimulate meiosis and primary spermatocytes to form immature sperm cells. Follicle stimulating hormone stimulates secretion of inhibin by the supporting cells. Luteinizing hormone is also released. It's going to stimulate the interstitial cells to secrete androgens. So now that we have androgens production, we're going to have testosterone and androgens, that these are going to act. We're going to have one and the other, and they're going to have their effects. So the inhibin is going to it's going to inhibit oversecretion of FSH. Well, luteinizing hormone, the androgens are going to have the overproduction of LH and prevent oversecretion of GnRH. So what do you get as a result of having more amounts of luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone? We're going to have increased muscle growth, increased growth of body hair, face, chest, axillary, and pubic regions. We're going to have thickening and strengthening of bones and thickening of the skin, the enlargement of the accessory reproductive organs, and the enlargement of the larynx and thickening of the vocal cords. So this is an overview of all we covered in this subsection.